Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a Jinhao, and this is the X159. We have an Esterbrook Camden in the Oktoberfest. We have an Onoto, and this is the British Museum Great Court. We have a Visconti Opera Master Antarctica. We have a Benu Euphoria Bourbon. We have a Scribo fill in the Verde Prato. We have a Taccia Miyabi Earth in Aka-Tamenuri. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Demostones in Sapphire. We have a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath and a Taccia Miyabi Empress Winter's Breath. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up here. This is the Jinhao X159, and this is an interesting pen. It basically is a clone of the Montblanc 149. It is almost identical except for a number of features here. So the clip is definitely different. There is no snowflake here for the Montblanc mounting cup. And also, this is not a piston filling pen. It is actually a cartridge converter. But then again, you would be looking to pay around about probably £600-700 euros dollars for a Montblanc 149. Whereas this Jinhao X159 is around £6 euros or dollars. So a significant difference. It does have a steel fine nib though, and these are nibs I believe made in-house by Jinhao. They are stamped with the Jinhao logo there. They are quite large nibs. They are number 8 size nibs, and if I unscrew here you will see that yes, it definitely does have a converter. But for the price, these are actually pretty good. These are actually coming in, as I said, around £6, euro, or dollars. Now, I bought 6 of these across the red or burgundy and the blue, which is almost a blue-black colour of pens. And some of them have come with very scratchy nibs, and others have come actually with quite smooth nibs. So there is a consistency issue for sure, but then again, it's a £6, euro, or dollar pen. So this really is quite an interesting pen at that price point. You can post the caps as well. Why did I buy these, and why did I buy 6 of them? So I do like the 149. I do like cigar-shaped pens and oversized pens, and this really ticks all of those boxes. Does have a steel nib. I have other pens with steel nibs. I do typically, more of my expensive pens have gold nibs or palladium nibs, but I wanted to give this a try, and after actually getting 2 of these, I really actually was quite blown away in terms of the cost for these pens, so that's why I bought another 4. So I have that one inked up with me this week. I think I had it inked up last week as well on the currently inked. The next pen here is the Esterbrook, and this isn't an SD, this is a Camden model, so it is a little bit thin, tapered down. It does have a finial there, the Esterbrook logo. It does have a clip there as well, but it does actually taper down quite a lot. I do like this material. I just wish it was in the Esterbrook SD model. Perhaps maybe Esterbrook will listen and maybe do one in the SD oversize. It does have the spring-loaded cap as normal. Does come with the Esterbrook Yovo number 6 size nib. I got that with a medium nib. It is a cartridge converter pen. You do see that section a little bit on the thinner side and shorter side. I do find though that this body is really hard to screw on. You can see there's not a lot of ink left in that converter there. but the plastic or resin threads on the metal just make it very, very stiff. A very tight tolerance. I'd be interested to hear if any of you do have the same pen, if you have the same issue, or if it may just be a one-off. You can post the cap, but it won't post securely, because what will happen, look at that, that's the spring-loaded cap mechanism. So it's just trying to push that cap off of the ends there of that pen. So you can't really post the cap. You can if you force it, but I think at some point it's probably going to spring off. So for me, I'm not, as you probably are aware, I'm not a cap poster normally with my pens. So that really doesn't bother me, but I know it will bother some people that you won't be able to maybe securely post that cap. The next pen here I have inked up is the Onoto, and this is, I'll show you here, the British Museum, and it is the Great Court. Now, if you have ever been to the British Museum in London, or if you have seen it online, then you will know that it has this lovely glass domed sort of patterned ceiling or roof where you can look out at the stars. And that's essentially what the cap finial shows here, along with this design here around the cap finial. But essentially it's got this like lattice type effect of like diamonds in the glass. So this is a really nice pen from Onoto. I really think that they've actually done this justice in terms of trying to replicate what the British Museum looks like. I actually worked close to the British Museum for a number of years. I haven't actually been into the British Museum. I do need to go. Whenever I pass the British Museum, there always was huge amounts of queues, long queues from mostly sort of tourists. A lot of it was Asian tourists that just want to go in and see the British Museum. Very popular museum. It's actually a free museum as well. So if you do get a chance, if you're in London, do get to look at it. I probably will go there at some point. I have actually done a virtual tour over the COVID period, which was brilliant. And I would actually like to go there one day and actually look around. But this is a beautiful pen. It is made of solid silver. It's also got this enamel sort of coating on. And then if I unscrew, you will see there a number 7 size Onoto nib. It's actually a Bock nib. This is a cartridge converter pen. It's not designed to post again, unfortunately. But if you were to post this, it would be a enormously back-weighted pen, because this pen weighs 90, I think it's 95 or 97 grams in weight. It's very close to 100 grams. Very, very heavy pen, and although I don't have any problems writing with it, I can write a page of A4 in a letter. A lot of people will have issues with the weight of that pen, because what it will do is will give you hand fatigue in a lot of cases. The heavier the pen, I typically also find the smaller, the thinner the section, the lighter the pen also gives me hand fatigue, because I also grip the pen a lot harder. So I typically get less hand fatigue from a larger, heavier pen than I would a shorter or thinner pen and lighter pen. The next pen inked up, I have had inked up for a few weeks now. This is the Visconti Opera Master Antarctica. And I do really think Visconti have hit the nail on the head with this one. I really do like these white swirl patterns on the blue sort of translucent body there and cap. Very, very nice. I think I got a good pattern. I didn't have the choice. I won this in an auction from Martini Auctions, Regina Martini. And that's Regina is the famous Pelican book author in Germany. This is a really, really lovely pen, and I have to say, I do like it. It's a Paravac, it's a double reservoir. You do have the ink window there as well. It does have the number 6 size Visconti. This is the in-house nibs. It's a medium nib. This nib did actually not write smooth out of the box. I know a lot of people harp on about Visconti QC or quality control, and I have over 70 Viscontis. Majority of them have written well out of the box. This was probably one of the ones where I had to do a little bit more to actually make sure that wrote smoothly. There was a little bit of a burr on the inside of the right hand tine, which meant if I tried to do a right to left sort of like if you were writing the letter O, for instance, then it would scratch the paper and almost cut the paper as well. So I did have to smooth that one out. It is a shame. I do really think that nibs should come out of the box being able to write perfectly, but it's not always possible. Whether or not it's Visconti, whether or not it's another brand, Pelican I've had the same issues with. So it's not just Visconti, but I know a lot of people harp on about Visconti being the company with the most quality control issues there. The next pen I have inked up is the Benu Euphoria, and this is the Burbon. Now, I actually bought this because I really wanted the vodka on the rocks, and it had sold out everywhere. And I thought, actually, you know what? I do like whiskey, and okay, whiskey isn't bourbon. It's not far off, but equally, it's not. But equally, Benu do not have a whiskey-themed pen. So I decided I like the warm colours and tones of this pen. The beautiful sort of red and yellow and orange sort of glitter that's going on there. So I decided to buy this pen. And then a little while later, I think it was about 6 months, maybe longer, I was able to pick up the vodka on the rocks. But this is a beautiful pen. I do like the size of the Euphorias. I do think that these are actually the right size. They come with a number 6 size nib. These are not Bock or Jovo, but they are Schmidt nibs. It's a cartridge converter pen. The section's quite long. You can post the cap. And I have to say, the majority of the Benu nibs have been pretty nice that I have tried. There's been a couple that have been a little bit coarse. And I have had to tune those in my collection. But I would say, again, the majority of them do actually come out perfectly okay. The next pen I have inked up here is a Scribo. I've not written with a Scribo for a while. This is a Scribo Fill, and this is in the Verde Prato. And I have to say that I do like this pen quite a lot. It does have this like ruthenium coloured trim to it, sort of almost like a gunmetal type trim. And likewise the same on the nib. It's a ruthenium coated or plated 14 karat gold nib, actually. This one, not an 18 karat gold. It's the flex nib or extra flessibile nib. If you don't know, Scribo was born out of Omar. When Omar shut its doors, a number of the staff decided to reopen as Scribo, and they've also secured the nib and feed creation machines so that they could actually offer effectively what they were offering under Omar's doors. So this is a really nice pen. I do like writing with the Scribos. Very, very nice writers. I do prefer the 14 karat gold flex nibs or extra flessibile nibs over the 18 karat gold. The 18 karat gold are typically sort of named by retailers as soft, and the flex ones are pretty much more flexible. But I do like the 14 karat over the 18 karat. Just gives me a little bit more bounce to that writing experience. The next pen here I have is the Taccia Miyabi, and this is the Earth edition. This is a Urushi base pen with an ebonite base pen with Urushi lacquer, and this is in Aka-Tamenuri. So this is a quite a deep red. You can also see that there on that clip as well. The clip is also Urushi lacquered. It is actually quite a nice pen. You can see there, number 3 of 100. So there were only 100 of these made. I do like it a lot. It does have a little bit like the Esterbrook. It does have a spring-loaded clutch mechanism in the cap. So you do have to like push it in and twist at the same time. It has a number 6 size, and this is the 18 karat gold nib, 750 there. It's a Taccia nib. Taccia nibs are actually made by Sailor. So you also have quite a nice concave section there. Not a lot of threads at all, really. Just a couple of threads there. It is cartridge converter, but you can see there that it does have this springy clutch in a cap mechanism. So you have to push in and twist to do that. The Miyabi Earth, you can post the regular Miyabi models. You cannot post the Empress models. So that's just something to bear in mind if you are a cap poster. So I have that one inked up with me this week. Another pen I do like a lot is the Visconti Homo Sapiens range of pens. So this is the Homo Sapiens Demostones in Sapphire. It is a nice pen. I do like writing with this. I do find that these are the right size in my hand. You can see there, and if I want to post the cap, you can as well. So for me, this is an ideal size pen and an ideal weight. The sections typically are a little bit shorter. You do have the hook safe lock mechanism there. This does have a 14 karat gold in-house Visconti nib with that new design on the nib, or newer design. I'm not particularly a fan of that newer design. I do really prefer the older sort of 23 karat, 18 karat gold fleur-de-lis type imprint on that nib. It is a hook safe lock. It's a power vac. It's a double reservoir. Holds a lot of ink, around 2.5 milliliters of ink. So you will find, unless you are a big writer, that you are gonna take a long time to get through that ink. Same with the Opera Masters. Again, 2.5 milliliters of ink in those. So it will hold a lot of ink. The next pen here, I did have inked up last week. It's a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. Beautiful pen. You can just see there. Again, it's an ebonite base model like the Earth here. But again, it's Urushi, it's Makie. And you've got all this crushed quail's eggs here, which they crush and then painstakingly glue back onto the pen. And then you have these abalone strips, or abalone that is cut into strips and also glued onto the pen. And then they Urushi lacquer all of this so that it is protected. Now, I say protected. If I run my fingers over these eggshells, I can feel a slight texture, a slight bumpiness. So, although there's probably maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 layers of Urushi, I'm not sure exactly how many, that you still can feel it. You do have a number 6 size, again a Taccia nib. This is a broad nib I got on this one. This one is the smaller number 6 size, just like on the Earth. It's a cartridge converter pen. Again, you can post that cap. It's not really designed to do so, and it will wobble a little bit. So again, I wouldn't post this anyway, normally. I'm just showing you here that you can post it. But for me, I don't post that cap, and I don't really feel a need to post the cap. And then the last pen here inked up this week is again a Taccia Miyabi, but this is the Empress model. This is the Winter's Breath. So it is, well, if I show you here, it is slightly longer, it's slightly girthier. You also have this ruthenium plated clip with eggshells glued on from the quail's eggs. But again, it has this beautiful, beautiful crushed quail's eggs. And then the abalone strips there. And again, I can feel the abalone, I can feel the eggshell clips. So you can feel it, even though it is urushi lacquered over the top. Now, urushi lacquer typically can be clear, but you can also have different colours as well. This comes with a King of Pen size nib. It's a Taccia number 8 size nib. So that's the other difference over this version of the Winter's Breath. Again, it's a cartridge converter pen. The section is a lot more girthier, and I do notice that when I'm writing with it. It is quite a girthy section, but I do like the pen quite a lot. So for me, this is a wonderful pen to be able to write with. So there you have it. That's my currently ink pens for this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen here is the Jinhao X159. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a fine nib. I do find it writes a little bit more between a fine and a medium. I'd say maybe a little bit more towards a medium. Now you can get these in, as I understand it, fine, medium and broad, although I could only get fine from the seller that I was buying from on eBay. So this is the Jinhao X159. Technically it is a fine and it is a steel nib. It's a Jinhao nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Oxblood. But I do have to say that a lot of these Jinhao X159s, I've got 6 now, most of them do write pretty well out of the box. So if you want a cheap number 8 steel nib, then it's a little bit of a no-brainer, really, around about £6, euros or dollars to buy that pen. Now, that nib may, certainly, it probably will not, I don't believe it's a screw-in nib, and you probably may not be able to use that nib in another pen. You would need a number 8 size nib pen, and you would probably have to use the feed from that pen. So you probably, the number 8 size nibs typically are normally gold or titanium, so you're probably not going to want to replace it with a steel nib, but you could do if you wanted to, or you might be able to buy some handmade sort of pens that will accept a steel Yovo, or sorry, not Yovo, a steel Jinhao number 8 size nib. The next pen inked up this week is the Esterbrook Camden Oktoberfest. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is quite a nice ink. It's a little bit on the light side though. I probably will go with a darker colour ink in here that maybe isn't quite as dry. So this is the Esterbrook. It's the Camden Oktoberfest with a K actually. And just double checking, it is a medium nib. I really wanted a broad nib, but I couldn't get a broad. I think they were only doing finer mediums actually, or extra fine, finer medium. And it's a steel Yovo nib. The ink in here it's a Diamine. Sorry, not a Diamine. It's a Dominant Industries or Industry. Colt Pens exclusive. It's the summer edition, and it's called Autumn Sunlight. I have to say it is a nice colour. It's just, and it is an autumny or autumnal coloured ink. I just think that I probably want something maybe a little bit darker, maybe a little bit more lubricated in that nib. Jowo nibs, the steel nibs, I typically do find a little bit on the dry side. So if you've got a dry ink, then and you've got it in an extra fine or medium nib, then it's going to write a little bit more drier. The next pen is the Onoto British Museum Great Court. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is a very, very beautiful ink. And I have actually added some more of this ink to my collection. So this is the Onoto British Museum Great Court. And it is a fine, and it is an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Van Vustus. And it is Aqua di Spargi. Now, I did add a second bottle of that ink to my collection, and I also added, I think, about another 4 bottles or 3 bottles of other colours of ink there as well. So that is an ink that I am liking a lot. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Opera Master, and this is the Antarctica. Now, I wanted to show these inks side by side so you can see the difference between these two inks, because they are both two very nice turquoise coloured inks, and they are both becoming favourites of mine as well. So this is the Visconti Opera Master Antarctica, and this is a medium nib, but I'm finding it's a little bit more on the finer side. It is the newer 18 karat gold nib from Visconti, and then the ink in here is Visconti turquoise, and I'd have to say that ink looks, at least to me, in real life, pretty much similar. I'd say maybe the Visconti turquoise is just a hair darker than the Van Vistus Aqua di Spargi. But it does make me wonder whether or not maybe they are made from or provided from the same manufacturer of the ink. I don't know if Visconti actually manufacture their own ink, or if they get it from Diamine or get it from somebody else. And likewise the same with Van Vistus as well. The next pen inked up is the Benu Euphoria in the Bourbon. And every time I write with this pen, I actually immediately think I want to get a glass of whiskey. I do like bourbon. I'm not a heavy drinker, so I do like lots of different lagers, bitters. I like Guinness. I like vodka. I like whiskey. Do like a little bit of bourbon or Southern Comfort, but I'd say if I'm going for a brown liquor, then I will, outside of beer, I will probably go for whiskey. I do like some single malts. I also like some blended malts as well. I typically like Scotch whiskey, not Irish whiskey or American whiskey. I'm sorry, but I just find actually the there is was it Jim Beam's Honey is actually a very nice whiskey, quite sweet, but is quite nice. So diverging slightly, this is the Benu Euphoria, and it is the bourbon or whiskey, as I would like to call it, if I had the option. It does have a fine, and it's a still Schmidt nib, not a Bock or a Jovo nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Ochre. But I have to say, I do like that pen. I do like how it writes as well. It writes very, very nicely. The next pen is the Scribo Fill in the Verde Prato. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I do like Scribo fills. I do love how they write. They do write very, very super wet. So that is something to bear in mind. So this is the Scribo fill, and it's the Verde Prato. Now this is a medium, and it's a 14 karat gold extra flessibile nib, and then the ink in here is Ackerman Dutch Masters, and it's Van Huysum's Sapgron. But that is a very, very nice sort of grassy green ink. The next pen inked up is the Taccia Miyabi Earth. We'll do an ink swatch here. Now, this is a fine nib. It's quite a stiff nib. It is an 18 karat gold nib, but I would say that I'd almost say that this writes more like an extra fine nib, and it's also quite stiff as well. So this is the Taccia Miyabi Earth in Aka-Tamenuri, and it is a fine. I think it is a fine. I'm just double checking. Yeah, that's a fine, and it is the 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine Passion Red. Now, I've yet to use Passion Red in a more broader or wetter writing nib. I think it will be really nice. And I probably will actually look at inking that up with a darker red. I might try Poppy Red to start with, or Wild Strawberry from Diamine. Maybe even Diamine Blue Ink Vent Ho Ho Ho. That could be a nice colour. Or I should maybe even think of maybe Diamine Oxblood. That would be more the darker red. So I will have to think about that one a little bit. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Demostones Sapphire. So we'll do an ink swatch. And one of the reasons why I do like the Visconti nibs and also the Homo Sapiens is that they do write quite wet. Maybe not as wet as the Scribo fills or Scribo nibs in general, but they do write quite wet. So this is the Visconti Homo Sapiens Demostones Sapphire. And it is a medium, and it is the in-house 14 karat gold nib there from Visconti. And then the ink in here is actually a Visconti turquoise, like I had in the Opera Master Antarctica there. So it is the same ink, although you'll notice that it is quite a different shade as well. So depending on the nib, depending on how wet that nib writes or broad, that you will notice a difference in ink colour. The next pen inked up is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is another turquoise ink that I like quite a bit. I did recently buy another bottle of this because I was down to about a quarter of a bottle. So this is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath and it is a broad, and it is an 18-karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Topaz. And you'll notice really there isn't a lot of difference between the Visconti turquoise in the Visconti Homo Sapiens Demostones and the Pelican Edelstein Topaz in the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. Very, very close. I'd say maybe the Pelican Edelstein Topaz is a little bit more on the blue side. And then the last pen we have inked up here is the Taccia Miyabi Empress Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, this is a medium nib. It's also a King of Pen nib. So it does write narrower than the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath, which is a broad. So this is the Taccia Miyabi, and it is the Empress, and it is the Winter's Breath, and it is a medium, and again an 18-karat gold nib. Now, although these Taccia King of Pen nibs are made by Sailor do make their King of Pen nibs as 21-karat gold. The Taccia ones are 18-karat gold. I don't know the reason behind that. It may just be down to cost for Taccia. It may be down to the Sailor just don't want to make a 21-karat gold King of Pen nib for anybody else. I don't know the reason behind it, but there is a subtle difference there. And then the ink in here is Diamine Ultra Green, which is a very nice green ink. I'd say it's around the middle of the road green, but I find it is quite a nice green. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. We have a Jinhao X159 in a fine steel nib inked up with Diamine Oxblood. We have an Esterbrook Camden Oktoberfest in a medium steel nib inked up with Dominant Industry Cult Pens Autumn Sunlight. We have an Onoto British Museum Great Court in a fine 18-karat gold nib inked up with Venvistus Aqua di Spargi. We have a Visconti Opera Master Antarctica in a medium 18-karat gold nib inked up with Visconti turquoise. And I'd have to say that these potentially are identical inks. Probably made from the same manufacturer. They are so alike. The next pen is the Benu Euphoria Burbon in a fine steel nib inked up with Diamine Ochre. We have a Scribo Fill Verde Prato in a medium 14-karat gold nib inked up with Ackerman Dutch Masters Van Hoysem's Sapgrown. We have a Taccia Miyabi Earth in Aka-Tamenuri in a fine 18-karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Passion Red. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens Demostones in Sapphire in a medium 14-karat gold nib inked up with Visconti Turquoise. We have a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath in a broad 18-karat gold nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. And then we have a Taccia Miyabi Empress Winter's Breath in a medium 18-karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Ultra Green. So there you have it. That's my Kony ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.